Coach, obviously a couple days of good work against the Lions. Why is it so important to work against another team before you play in a preseason game?
Yeah, one, I got a lot of respect for Detroit, Coach Campbell, how they operate. They got a good football team. It allows you to evaluate your players against other guys in different schemes, how they practice, their tempo. Gives you, a good feel for, which guys are improving versus which guys are staying the same, because the competition rises up when you practice against another team.
And then is that also the next level of indicator when you actually get into a game and see how these young guys handle it when it's not controlled?
Yeah, absolutely. Then the fundamentals really have to show up. The tackling, which we don't allow out here when we're practicing, the making plays on the ball. That's the next process of the evaluation, which is probably the most important part of it, is seeing those guys play, in a real game.
One of the big questions about the Giants coming into the season is the evolution of the offensive line. As you've watched this group come together, what are some of the things that have stood out for you?
Yeah, we have some veterans on the offensive line. The addition to GVR has really been good for us in the room. He's played at center. He's done a great job with the communication. Stinny's really had a good camp. Bring Runyon in. Now he starts working with AT. Illuminor is at right tackle where he played last year. The five of those guys are meshing well. And then there's competition behind them that are fighting through it. We have a few guys that are injured that aren't out there, and those five guys that have been playing well have been starting to mesh.
And Illuminor, how important too is it that he understands what the coach is preaching and the messaging to spread that amongst the other guys and explain things?
Yeah, I know Carm and Jay have a relationship, a long-standing relationship. He's been a good addition for us, a good veteran. And really, GVR just coming in, the same thing. Stinny, who was at Tampa, Runyon, these guys are starting to work well together. Obviously, we have AT that's been here and a staple for us, but I like the direction that we're headed.
On the defensive side of the ball, I saw on Monday, Okereke had a really nice interception. Obviously, everybody's learning new when it comes to the system that Coach Bowen's putting in. How do you see the process unfolding right now?
Yeah, we've gotten progressively better. There's things we need to clean up every practice. Again, defensive football, you got to play sound, you got to tackle well, you got to communicate well, and those are three things that we emphasize, along with the standard of running to the ball and trying to get the ball out of the hands of them. But each day you learn a little bit more, you go back, you fix it, so that you hope the next day you're better at the deficiencies you had from the previous day, and that goes for offense and special teams as well.
I know there's a lot of intel sharing, and I know everybody was glued to the opening kickoff of the Hall of Fame game, which you would never be glued to the opening kickoff. Were you anxious to see how it kind of played out in game situations?
Yeah, and I got to feel like there's going to be little changes here and there as the preseason goes on. So that's something that obviously we're studying. We've studied it in the off season, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that, evaluating all the games, seeing what people have done. I'm sure there'll be changes, as they always are when there's something new. So we're going to have to be on top of that, throughout the preseason and in the early part of the regular season.
Do you think the long speed guy, the traditional kickoff return guy, whereas now it's more of a guy that's more of a punt return, or maybe even a running back or a shifty receiver that can navigate this short distance?
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be some of that. And those guys that are really good in space, I think you might see more players that, a starting slot or a starting nickel, guys that have unbelievable quickness and vision and run skills. There's less speed, there's less space. It's more like you're running a jet sweep or a reverse at times with the limited amount of space you have. So, there's a lot of guys, I think, lobbying for it too, to get an extra touch on the ball.
Final question. I want to ask you about Tyrone Tracy, because played a lot of his college career as a receiver, played some at running back. How is he picking up the concepts of the pro game in a running back?
Yeah, Joel Thomas has done a fabulous job with him, and it's really important to the young man to know what he's supposed to do, when he's supposed to do it, how he's supposed to do it. So he's had a strong camp for a young player. It'll be good to see him out in live games.
Coach, we appreciate a couple minutes.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you.